Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're just going to take a second to let you all trickle in and we'll begin. Thank you for joining us today. Wow, it's wonderful to see such a high number of you. Please be mindful of the webinar chats. There will be some further instructions there as well in notes and content. But I think I'll let you all trickle in and I'll just begin with a brief word. Hello and welcome. It's my pleasure to welcome you today. My name is Marina Tkachenko. I'm the Development and Communications Manager at the King Baudouin Foundation US, KBFUS. But on behalf of KBFUS and also Give2Asia, our strategic partner, I would like to thank you for coming today and for taking the time to attend our first webinar of the webinar series on sustainable fundraising strategies. But before we begin, please allow me just a brief word to share what we do. KBFUS and Give2Asia are founding members of Myriad, the Alliance for Borderless Giving. We facilitate thoughtful, effective giving across borders. We enable US donors to support their favorite causes overseas and provide foreign nonprofits with cost-effective solutions to raise funds in the United States. Please note that the session will indeed be recorded, and you will receive a post-event email with content, but also the recording and any other supplemental readings. So thank you again. And now I just would like to pass the word and introduce you to one and only Liz Nganzi.
Thank you so much, Marina. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in this world. So grateful to be with you. I want to first express my gratitude to KBFUS for the opportunity to partner with them and Giving Tuesday on this webinar series. We're delighted to have 514 registrants from around the world joining us today, whether live or watching the recording. I want to extend a special thank you to those of you who have previously attended our programs. Your continued support means a great deal to us. It is an honor to be here with you as the founder and CEO of the International Social Impact Institute, a social enterprise dedicated to leveraging emerging technology, including generative AI, to drive positive change and empower our clients through their fundraising and storytelling efforts. We have witnessed firsthand the transformative power of generative AI in our operations and client work, resulting in remarkable efficiencies and optimization. I firmly believe that generative AI has the potential to level the playing field for smaller nonprofits, like those that many of you work for, enabling them to effectively connect with donors and amplify their impact. In my role as an adjunct assistant professor of fundraising at New York University, where I've been teaching courses on digital storytelling and fundraising for over a decade, I've recently updated my summer and fall courses to incorporate the power of generative AI to stakeholder engagement, because I recognize how important it is to demystify AI for folks in our sector and for us to really leverage it. Today, however, I'm thrilled to serve primarily as your moderator, facilitating this insightful conversation and giving you the opportunity to learn from our two distinguished guest speakers. Speaking of our esteemed panelists, I'm delighted to introduce Kathleen Murphy-Toms, Director of Digital Communications at Giving Tuesday, and Arif Ekram, who is the Manager of Partnerships at Candid. Their expertise and insights in fundraising and technology will provide valuable perspectives for our discussion today. Throughout this panel discussion, we will delve into crucial topics such as growing and retaining donor bases, utilizing technology for donor involvement, effective communication strategies, and the significance of data sharing in the granting process. Our goal is to equip you with practical strategies and actionable takeaways that can make a tangible difference in your organizations. I encourage all of you to actively participate in the discussion, sharing your experiences and posing questions. We want to foster an interactive and inclusive dialogue, and your contributions are instrumental in achieving that. I'd like to assure you that we're taking your feedback from the pre-event survey, thank you for filling it out, into consideration when developing today's questions. Now let's delve into our panel discussion on leveraging technology to attract and retain donors. And I'm excited to learn from our panelists and engage in this insightful conversation. And I'm thanking you for being with us today. So now it's my pleasure to introduce two exceptional individuals who are not only esteemed colleagues, but also dear friends. Joining us from Chicago, or Chi-Town as it's also known, is Kat Murphy-Toms, Director of Digital Communications at GivingTuesday. Kat is responsible for driving incredible digital engagement through the largest philanthropic movement in history. Let me say that again, the largest philanthropic movement in history, GivingTuesday. She also joined me as a fellow member of the faculty at the Center for Global Affairs at New York University 2 years ago, where she teaches an outstanding course on leveraging social media for digital fundraising. I had the pleasure of auditing one of her sessions, and it was truly fantastic. Next, we have my great friend and collaborator, Arif Ekram, who oversees partnerships at Candid, literally 2 blocks away. Arif played a pivotal role in developing Candid's remarkable platforms that serve nonprofits in the Global South. Some of you may have seen Arif and me speaking at the inaugural virtual Youth Giving Summit that we co-developed last August. I have immense respect for Arif's expertise and experience at the intersection of donor engagement and technology. I'll now have Kat and Arif introduce themselves and provide you with visibility into their extensive backgrounds in the field before we jump into the questions. So go ahead. Let's go, Kat, if you'd like to start.
Thank you. I'm too humbled, by the way. You're too much, Liz. I'm Kat Murphy-Toms. I'm absolutely delighted to be with you all today from every corner of the world that you are in. As Liz mentioned, I'm the Director of Digital Comms for GivingTuesday, and what that means is that I study the use of digital tools and technology for movement building and for mass mobilization. And then I bring all those learnings and those best practices back to the social sector, to folks just like you who are working on the ground to create systemic change. Outside of my work here at GivingTuesday, as Liz mentioned, I teach social media and email marketing at New York University. As part of their digital fundraising certificate, it's one of my favorite things to do. I'm also a community organizer and mutual aid practitioner. I'm currently working on supporting newly arrived asylum seekers here in Chicago. So thanks again, Liz, for having me. This is a delight.
Thanks, Kat. And you're wearing your GivingTuesday shirt?
As always, representing.
Absolutely. Arif, let's take it to you. Thanks, Kat.
Thanks, please. Thanks for having me. And it's always a pleasure to speak alongside you, Kat. I would like to call Liz a dear friend, and Liz is also, our collaborator. We have done a lot of work in the past together, and we hope to continue to do the same. Like Liz said, I am Arif Ekram. I use he, his, him pronouns. I am the manager of partnerships at Candid. I've been with the organization for about 10 years now. A huge part of my work focuses on democratizing data and facilitating exchange of knowledge between Global South and Global North, even though I do not like those terms, but for the sake of convenience, let's use that today. And also another important work that we do from our department is to create knowledge in the sector. That means doing a lot of research, ensuring transparency, collecting data from all over the world. And we use a lot of technology to do that. And I'm happy to talk more about that as this conversation progresses. And,
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry,
no,
continue.
with that, just back to you, Liz.
Okay, fantastic. So excited to jump in. And folks, please go ahead and share your questions with us, because we're going to have an opportunity 2 times in this session for us to answer your questions. So let's start the conversation by speaking about growing and retaining donors, right? That's what people are here to learn about. How can nonprofits expand their donor base beyond personal networks, leveraging technology? Kat, if you want to jump in with that first, that'd be great.
I have so much to say about this, and it would take us the whole time. The first thing that I want to push down on is that you're using your personal networks to get to that next network, right? There's no way around that. Folks need to intimately know what it is that you're doing, and people give to people, they don't give to organizations. So your best pathway to finding and attracting and all those words that we use, but really we mean, hopefully, bringing new people into our mission. New people who can walk arm in arm with us toward moving that needle towards systemic change. We want to all be coming together. It's not so much about getting people to open their wallets for us. I hope that's not what we mean. What we mean is bringing people in to be part of our community together. And the way that we do that is through our existing networks. A few things that I'm interested in. You've heard me, if you've ever heard me speak before, you hear me speak about TikTok and Reels. I think those are excellent mechanisms for reaching new folks. Those are the two, as of now, this current moment in 2023, those are the only two mechanisms that are specifically designed to help you reach new people. That's how those algorithms work, right? When you publish a piece of content to Reels or TikTok, what it's doing is not pushing that content out to the people who follow you. It's pushing that content out to all TikTok users, or a subset of them anyway, or all Reels Instagram users. So the potential to reach new folks is immense. Peer-to-peer and crowdfunding, for the reasons that I just mentioned a second ago about how can you use your existing network to reach other folks. I think those are two really, really strong mechanisms that come into play, particularly for events like Giving Tuesday, but you can do these anytime, peer-to-peer giving or crowdfunding campaigns. I think they're truly, truly critical. People need to see their friends being involved, and understanding that trust from their friends about the impact of your organization is really, really meaningful. Social proof, right?
Absolutely.
So when folks ask me what's their best thing they can be doing on Giving Tuesday, that's it. It's organizing a really strong peer-to-peer campaign and making sure the folks that you ask to fundraise on your behalf are really well equipped with the tech that they need to do their job, but also the content and the assets and the coaching that they need to do their job, right? It's a lot of work, but it's truly worth it. Truly worth it.
I want to go back one step, and I want you to help people understand what Giving Tuesday is, because you and I know I love Giving Tuesday, but not everybody is necessarily familiar with it. So we can provide some context. And good news, folks, is the next webinar we're going to be doing will be all about getting ready for Giving Tuesday. But if you could just indulge us a little bit.
Yeah, and so I won't talk about it too much, except to say that Giving Tuesday is a movement that's about building the world that we all seek to live in together. It's not a 24-hour fundraising campaign. It was never supposed to be a 24-hour fundraising campaign. This is about how do we teach people to change their behavior to become more generous. Radical generosity is what a term that we like to use to define what it is that we're doing here. What does it look like if we build a society that truly believes that anyone else's suffering is as terrible as their own suffering, right? What if we can have beating hearts all together throughout humanity? Through generosity. And I've personally witnessed this in the past 30 days with my mutual aid organizing for my people. But we witness this every single day, right? What does it look like if people will behave more generously? We truly believe that that's the path forward.
Absolutely.
For all of us.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Because we have to understand we're all interconnected, right? But given that this, I want to just make sure that the generosity is about being generous in lots of different ways. But ultimately, if you can activate people, you can have folks become involved in what you're doing. It creates an easier path towards the fundraising, right? I want to make sure that we're clear about that too, right? I mean, ultimately, we want people to be more generous. We want them to be part of our community. But for the instances where we're raising funds, that's probably a good way for us to get them on that path. Would you say so?
Absolutely critical, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Let's then dive into the world of Candid. And Arif, if you can share a little bit on this topic. What are practical ways that nonprofits can leverage technology to enhance donor involvement? I was looking at how can nonprofits expand their donor base beyond their personal networks?
Yeah, happy to. And I think something that Kat also alluded to, and we like to say in our organization, we have this saying that philanthropy moves at the speed of trust, right?
Yeah.
So as you build trust, everything else becomes a lot easier.
Yeah.
So that means reaching out to your existing funders and then kind of expanding from there. So how you do that using technology. And we always say that the prerequisite for that is to kind of make yourself transparent. And one of the best way to do that in this world of technology is leveraging technology to do that. So there are so many tools out there that can help you become more transparent. And if a funder sees you, that you're transparent, you have nothing to hide. Excuse me, I think my sound is not clear. Let me try.
Oh, we can hear you. It's perfect.
Yeah, can you hear me?
We hear you perfectly. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So one of the tools that we give people access to is to, GuideStar, and we also have Foundation Director Online. We're going to talk about those tools a little later. But essentially what we ask people, invite people to do is share their grant making and grant seeking, all that information, their, staff information, their mission, their programmatic information, all that. So what a funder sees through that is that this organization is making itself transparent. That means they're trustworthy. Even though that's just the first step, trust building is a long-term thing, like our personal relationships. It just takes time, but that is just the first step. So you have your existing funders, make yourself transparent, and the word starts to slowly get out from peer to peer. More people comes, takes a look. And that is a very effective way to start kind of expanding your donor base. One of the many ways, I should say.
Absolutely. That trust factor is so important, because if you don't have that, especially online, because let's say if an organization, someone's researching an organization online, whether they're an institutional fund or an individual donor, and they're not able to find the kind of information that makes them feel comfortable about supporting them or putting their name associated with them, it's really going to make it's going to shut down that engagement, right? And so in the US, you have a platform like GuideStar that Candid offers, or outside of the US, it might be maybe like an NGO coordination board or some kind of entity in your country that is responsible for sort of regulating NGOs, may have a presence on their site so that can kind of help whoever's looking to support you understand that what you're doing is legitimate, and even, of course, your own website. Would you agree to that? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And so the landscape could be different from, vary from country to country. What might be, the standard for transparency that can be acceptable here in the US might be very different, let's say in a country, let's say in South Africa, right? So what would be the best way possible to make yourself transparent given the environment you are operating in? So you also need to factor that in. So I would not generalize, a standard for everyone. So that is, kind of already obvious, but also wanted to mention that as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And that's going to take us to our next question. We're going to shift our focus to the use of technology for donor involvement, right? What are practical ways that nonprofits can leverage technology and enhance donor involvement for sustained support? Kat, do you want to take that?
Yeah. Thing number one, I think, and this is sort of related to the previous question too, is just plain making it easy for folks to give and contribute, whether that's giving financially or opening the doors to any sort of gift that they might be able to give. And this is like kind of two separate things I'm going to go off on tangents about. Making it as easy as conceivably possible for somebody to donate to you is like step number one, right? So I urge nonprofits well ahead of any giving campaign that they're about to launch to make sure your donation forms are as streamlined as possible, as few fields as conceivably possible. In the year 2023, we don't typically need folks' mailing addresses. And to be able to offer pathways to give through mobile. So I think folks are really used to double clicking on their lock button in order to buy something on Instagram and it arrives on their doorstep. We need to be making it as easy as that to contribute to social good. So Arif's going to talk about it in a little bit, I hope, Apple Pay and Candid. But I think mobile giving is really, really critical step number one to bringing folks in the door. And then as far as keeping folks, again,
can I interrupt you for 1 second? Mobile
absolutely.
giving also in terms of SMS giving, right? Because in some countries that we need to think about the global audience, and so SMS.
Exactly. Venmo, M-Pesa, all of those. It needs to be as simple as conceivably possible. Folks' attention spans are very, very short. We talk about this when we talk about social media too. Folks' attention spans are short, and we need to be able to move faster, and we need to be able to accept a gift. People just want to give to you immediately a lot of times. And if you're not allowing them to do so, missed opportunities. So that's step one, bringing folks in the door, right? But then how do you keep folks engaged? I'm a huge fan of WhatsApp groups, and I'm a huge fan of inviting your donors to come alongside you and help you in your mission. They want to help you. They want to see the struggles. They want to see the wins, and they want to be a part of that. So I'm a really, really big fan of organizations having a WhatsApp group that has their staff in it, that has their donors in it. It's a value add for donors. They view that as a peek into your organization, and it allows them to help. If you have, I had this happen this morning at this organization that I'm working with. Someone said, we have a new baby coming unexpectedly. And the donors in my community were able to rally and find this person the baby supplies that she needed within minutes. It was absolutely astounding, and everyone felt good. The folks who are giving felt terrific to be able to give with that speed, and it was really, really wonderful. So I just encourage nonprofits to invite folks. Don't be shy. Let give folks that agency to get involved in your mission.
Absolutely. Yes. Arif, why don't we go to you?
I agree pretty much with everything Kat said. So I think she said it perfectly. So nothing to add.
All right. So I will add one thing, if you would indulge me, that, when it comes to leveraging technology for donor engagement and involvement, I'm excited to share a free self-paced online course that we had the privilege of developing for Candid. We really recently relaunched it in March, and it's titled Digital Storytelling: How to Engage and Activate Your Supporters Online. I highly recommend accessing this course, as it provides practical guidance and strategies for effectively utilizing digital platforms to connect with and activate your supporters. It was created with a lot of love. I put a lot of love, my team put a lot of love into it. And you can find the course link in the chat and also in the resource document that will be shared with you later. It's a valuable resource that can enhance your efforts in leveraging technology for sustained donor support. So I think I'm going to take a moment to just let folks ask some questions. There's one that was just sent to me, so I'm going to read it out, and maybe Arif, if you want to take it first. So the question that came through was, it was about how to use multiple platforms of social media to increase donation. Maybe that's really a Kat question. Multiple increased donation, and if there are cases to illustrate that's what the person's looking for. So examples of that.
I wonder if they're talking about cross-posting or if they're talking about which channels to be on. So I'll just
do both.
Let's just do both. I get variations of this question a lot, right? Your goal is not to be on every single social media platform that comes up. It's impossible, and it's detracting you from the good work that you're doing, and whoever's doing that needs to stop it, especially in the year 2023 when social media is changing, let's say. Engagement is down across platforms. It truly is. And so I need for nonprofits to be focusing their time and energy in the place that's going to be most effective for them. And this answer may not be particularly helpful to everybody, but it's going to be that you need to find the channels that your audience is on. So I can't prescribe to you one channel versus another. And a lot of times that takes simply asking your current donors what social media platforms they use to provide insight to what their friends might use, who's your target audience, right? Your current audience is a mirror of who your target audience is usually. Just ask your donors, what is it that they use? look at the analytics of the platforms that you're currently using. And if you're not seeing the engagement that you would like to be seeing, it's okay to stop using a certain platform. You have my permission. We're not looking for reach here. We're looking for genuine engagement. We're looking for comments on our posts. We're looking for sharing, and we're looking for people actually seeing your post and then getting engaged with you in your organization, right? We're not looking for reach. Years ago, we used to really be excited about, oh my gosh, my post was seen by 1,000 people or whatever. Those metrics are meaningless now. So we need to be looking harder and thinking more carefully, I think, about where we're spending our time, right? What's the highest ROI for the little time that we have to be spending on communicating about organizations. So
love it.
Yes.
Love it.
But I'm also a big fan of cross-posting, right? Whenever and wherever you can. That's not to say that your LinkedIn is the same content as your Facebook, right? But that is to say that Instagram and Facebook might have the same type of audience. So it's okay to press that cross-post button. Right. But just focus your time. It's futile to try to be on every single platform. Just pick one or two and do it really, really well and focus your energy on one or two. Rather than blasting the fire hose everywhere to everywhere that will listen.
And can I add one question to that? Sorry, Arif, before we get to two questions. One is, what is your view on ads? Because social media, their organic reach is not the same as it used to be in the past. So we can talk about that. And then the second question, I want you to go back about you talk about getting insights from your donors. It's important people understand surveys. Surveys are so important. I think they're underutilized. So if you could just cover those before we get to Arif.
Absolutely, surveys. You need to be doing it more often, but not in a robot kind of way, right? I actually prefer just simply getting on the phone and calling, or direct WhatsApp conversation to make it be authentic, right? When you're working at scale, sure, I think it's okay to do a SurveyMonkey or Google form or whatever, but you're going to get more meaningful answers if you take the time to do some focus groups or some one-on-one with your current donors and just ask them what it is that they like. And that's like for everything that we're talking about here, right? To gain insight in what brought you into our organization, what would encourage you to bring a friend into our organization, these kind of questions. Liz, what was the second question you asked me? It was about ads?
Yeah, ads, because I think that's something we have to think about.
It is, but I also don't want people putting too much budget into it. I think we need to all be in an experimentation mode at this moment. I don't recommend spending too much money on ads. I recommend testing it a little bit and seeing if it works for you and your audience. But if you're not seeing that it's working, then you need to stop it. And we need to find other ways to reach our donors.
Absolutely. Arif, if you can jump in.
Yeah, I wanted to add to what Kat just said about ads. Based from our experience, we have seen it usually works for nonprofits who have a broad name recognition. So like if those kind of nonprofits, usually very big, multinational, they can leverage ads very well because of that name recognition. But for smaller ones, you're obviously, because of your smaller reach and everything, you're already talking to a small set of donors. And it's very difficult to kind of pinpoint your ad to that donors. It's not so easy. So from that point of view, it might not always be the best use of your limited resources. Unfortunately, in many cases, more often than not, it's limited resources, right? But the other thing I wanted to quickly talk about is we often use this word donors, and actually what do we mean by that? Donors can be broken down into so many different categories. So let's say organizational donor, non-organizational donor, individual donors, corporate donors, community foundations, private philanthropic foundations, and so on and so forth, right? So the advice, the suggestions that we always give ourselves, and we also like to share with all our other partners, is that you segment those communication based on the type of foundation, the donors you are reaching out to. And for some, an email might suffice. For the rest, is the best way is probably a WhatsApp group, like what Kat just mentioned. So I always ask people to remember that one size doesn't fit all. remember the categories of donors, and you take it from there.
Absolutely. One size does not fit all. And I think it's important for people to know that customization, where you can, have that and that sort of special touch, because at the end of the day, we're in the business of caring and helping, and the people that are attracted to this kind of work, you want to treat them in a special way as much as you can, right? Obviously, at scale, it's a little bit different, but we have to remember that part of what we do. Right? I think is really, really important. And I always say, like, the technology is just supposed to facilitate the caring and the connection and the communication.
Yes.
It's not the end and be all. As much as I'm a techie, it's not the end and be all. They're just tools.
Yes.
They are just tools. Okay, I've got a few more questions that have come in. Okay, so this is, how can groups create and build trust and better retain donors? And what's the best? What platform is best to prioritize for startup organization looking to gain publicity and donors?
Okay, there isn't one. You're not going to like my answer, but there isn't one. It doesn't exist. In 2012, when we were just when Twitter just came up and Facebook we had a clear answer.
Yeah.
We don't have a clear answer anymore. I don't think there's one solution. There is not I hate this phrase, but silver bullet. It doesn't happen, right? It's work to get the word out about our organizations. Truly, building trust and transparency. Again, this is like one of our most asked questions, right? Arif, you get this all the time, right? For me, it's inviting our supporters in, right? And I literally mean inviting them in and letting them become a part of your organization, give them a job to do within your organization to help them see firsthand what it is that you're doing.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Arif, you want to add something to that? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. That's my favorite topic, right? So transparency, that's how you make yourself, for the lack of better words, marketable. So like I said, philanthropy moves at the speed of trust. And the primary way to earn that trust from your donors, let it be individuals, let it be from corporations, private foundation, is how transparent you are. Right. So like you have nothing to hide. You are doing this work and, your trustworthiness, earning that trust. That is the foundation of, a long-term grant, awarding relationship and receiving that award, that relationship. That is just how it is. Even though there will be all these tools like this, there will be 100 of different social media and all that. But this one has no replacement.
Okay.
I think there's ways that you can show your transparency on social media first, too, but you have to do all the things that Arif just said first, right? There's content that we can be creating, we can and should be creating on social media that highlights our transparency and also highlights our impact. You're doing both of those things at the same time. I love when nonprofits go live and show me what it is that they're doing on the ground, right? And offer me a window into the work that they're doing. I love talking to the folks that they're serving that way too, right? When folks go live on social media or make a reel about the person that they're serving, right? To hear from them too. I think there's lots of ways where transparency can show up.
Yeah, and that comes to owning your successes and failures, right?
Yeah.
So there are organizations who wouldn't be transparent about some of the aspects of their work because of the failures. But trust me, I'm telling you from my experience, no one expects you to be perfect.
Right.
No one. So don't worry about those failures. In fact, when you are sharing that, you are doing all other organizations out there a huge favor. We each can learn from each other.
I agree 100%. So I know the question was primarily focused on social media, but I want to ask, what are 3 things a nonprofit should think about for their website? What are 3 pieces of information or type of content they can share on their site to demonstrate their transparency? I think if we can just give them something like that, that can help. Kat, if you want to go first, and we go to Arif.
All right,
and the questions are blowing up here.
Yeah, as they tend to do.
Yeah.
My personal favorite things to see on a website is a video that highlights your impact, but a really, really short one because I don't have a lot of time, right? It does not have to be polished. I actually don't want a polished professional video. I would rather see something that you filmed on your iPhone, really, right? A little sneak peek into the work that you do. What else do I like to see? A very clear and easy to find donate button. And I prefer when it says something like contribute or join us versus donate, but that's just my personal preference. What else do I like to see? I don't know what else I like to see. Arif, what do you like to see on a website?
Yeah, all of the above, but also who are your partners, especially your funding partners. That's a very useful tool to earn trust. Let's say you are in XYZ country. I'm here in North America. I'm interested about your country, but I don't know anything about you, and I don't know much about the sector you operate in. But I see on your website that you have worked with ABC Foundation, who I know very well. And that will very easily tell me that story that, okay, there is this existing relationship with someone that I know. So that might be that I can also probably be able to work with you without much hesitation. So that is something that I'd really love to see on anyone's website.
I agree. I'm going to add one more thing before I go to the questions. One other thing I would say is, who is behind this organization? I'm going to the leadership, the board, because again, to Arif's point, I may not know your organization, but I may know someone on your board. I may know someone on your leadership team, because the organization isn't some entity on the like that's sitting on its own. It's made up of people. So I want to know who those people are. That's even a VC looks for the people first to see before they make an investment.
And
decision.
even if I don't know them, I would like to get to know them.
Who are
right?
they?
Yeah.
Who are they? Yeah, exactly. So I think that really makes a very big difference. Okay, so. Folks, oh gosh, the people are asking, okay, let's see, 2 questions from one guest. So one, for mass participation in larger events, are digital collection tins worth the cost? 2, certain passive income platforms like Amazon Smile have been lost. Alternatives are less used by people, but is it worth hanging in there? How can we effectively raise awareness with donors about these tools and increase giving at no cost to donors? So I think,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Amazon Smile is simply gone, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I didn't know it is gone.
It
was sunset
and I was not personally injured by this, to be honest with you. Nonprofits were receiving pennies.
Pennies. It was like nothing.
On the dollar. It was not worth it. I think the most I've ever heard being raised was my school's PTO raised like $30 or something one year. They were really proud of themselves, right? So I'm not injured at all by the lack of any of these tools, because they weren't allowing us to foster those relationships, to take that donor to the next tier, right? Nobody's becoming more familiar with your organization that way. They're simply feeling a little bit better about the capitalist purchase that they were making on Amazon. I don't think that was helping anybody except for Amazon itself. So I'm actually thrilled that Amazon Smile is gone. It pleases me no end. I think, again, these are not answers that folks might like, but it's work to find and attract these donors. And I don't think these simple fixes like Amazon Smile were helping us achieve that in the least.
Right. Go ahead, Arif.
Yeah, what I was, yes, the Smile is gone. Many people are upset about it, but I wanted to give a silver lining, not exactly about Amazon Smile, but about the sector itself. That is, the sector is growing exponentially. It has doubled in size in about 10 years' time, which is huge, and not just US giving, global giving as well. So that's a very optimistic picture for everyone to consider.
Okay, awesome. And then here's one, we're taking this a little bit. How about donors who don't use social media? Like, are there ways that organizations can engage them in successes in a more timely way, in the way that social media enables such fast sharing and communication?
Yes. And I am ready to see that. And I suspect that this is going to become even more so an issue as time moves along here. I think I see folks abandoning social media entirely. My personal friends are doing, and I know yours are as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. I think that's healthy for us as humans, to be honest with you. But there are so many ways that we can keep we build our own communities, right?
Mm-hmm.
We start focusing on collecting folks' email addresses and getting out regular communication via email to our supporters in targeted way and in a personalized way, right? Yeah. Again, I'm going to shout out WhatsApp from the rooftops, because I think that this is a real-time way that we can be communicating even more effectively than social media was ever helping us,
right, to
be honest with you. There are WhatsApp broadcast channels if you're developing a really, really large community and not necessarily wanting a way for folks to be able to communicate back and forth. There are broadcast channels that are things like, hey, we're having an event in a week. Here's the link to join. Please help us share. One-way communication type things. I think that's all I've got for you.
Yeah, no, I think that's tremendous.
But I'm hopeful. Right? I think we have many, many tools at our disposal. We just need to be a little bit creative about it.
Absolutely. And then finally, we have a question about segmentation and donor personas. We're new to this, so where would we start? Webinars, courses, materials? Yes, yes, and yes. We'll be providing some of those resources, right, in the resources in the document that we're sharing at the end of the session. Okay. Now let's move on to a topic that I am super jazzed about, and I think Kat, you and I talked about this. And
well, I'm excited to learn from you about this, so I'm here for it.
Okay, so I want to discuss how nonprofits can effectively utilize generative AI and other technologies to personalize and customize donor communication for better engagement. It's something that I've been obsessed with for this year. And in fact, we've retooled everything we're doing to really leverage it, not only internally in our operations, but also in the work that we're doing for folks, because it's just really tremendous. I'm even more excited about this than I was when social media came online, and toward the 2020 for our sector around 2010. I really think it's quite revolutionary. And if you might let me just kind of add a little bit to this before I open it to the two of you. When we talk about personalizing, customizing donor communication, we're talking about how to make each interaction more relevant, impactful, and meaningful for our donors, as we mentioned before, right? And so apps or platforms such as a lot of us have heard of ChatGPT. There's so many other platforms out there. There are about 1,000 of them coming online every month, but this was the one that kind of opened it up for people to access in mass. And it's a tool that's really, really powerful in terms of helping to customize our communications and even to optimize our content. So, I can write a script like as I did, or I can write anything and say, okay, hey, can you help me to make this more meaningful or to kind of more nuanced or whatever? And ChatGPT is really great at doing that. And why I love it is that because when we're talking about organizations that are small, organizations that are resource constrained, this is like having a co-pilot or having an assistant who can help you to edit, to be able to kind of analyze data and the like. And so one way that you can leverage ChatGPT or these other platforms is to analyze large volumes of donor data or any kind of data that helps you to identify patterns and trends that human teams might miss. So let me give you an example of something we're working on. Is we were given a data set, a survey results from 4,000 people, and trying to really understand not only what it is, analyzing their results, the survey results, just in terms of what they said, but drawing insights from them and what FAQs can the organization bring to their website to kind of answer questions that they're constantly having to try to answer over the phone, but maybe can answer proactively through their platform. What are services that they can identify that they may not have been able to provide before? Again, this is for their members, who in your instance it would be donors, but it's really kind of coming up with new things that are really, 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 really powerful. So I think it's really, really, really important for us to think about how we can take advantage of this. And it can also help you figure out the best time to reach out to your donors, what the preferred communication channels are, the kinds of projects that those donors are likely to support, and even the tone of communication. Now, if you have a small donor base, this is stuff you probably could find out, but when we're talking about larger donor bases, or when we're talking about you don't have enough time or maybe the expertise to do this, it can help you to go into it. And so I really, really am excited about it. And we've been working on it and just seeing how transformative it is. And of course, not only can generative AI help you to analyze data, it can also help you to create, text. You can use it to create audio, so like even a song or a script. You can use it for video, you can use it for images. And so there's so many uses for it. And I really think that it's time for our sector to really embrace it and not be afraid. I know there's a lot of talk about how it's going to replace people's jobs, but the way I'm looking at it is that we as professionals in this sector need to figure out how we can use it to help us be more effective and optimize the work that we're doing. So that's my TED Talk on that. Who wants to jump in? Because I know, Kat, you and I talked about that you've been using this as well.
I mean, I don't know. I'm a little bit of a more cautious individual about AI. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I think it can be helpful for organizations that are working at scale. And I mean like large scale. So I'm thinking about things like a chatbot. If you are like a chatbot, if you're someone like me who gets 1,000 emails a day through the contact form, I might implement a chatbot that can help answer some of those questions, those like the easy ones that I'm copy pasting answers to anyway, something like this, right? But I'm worried about that replacing that personalization.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, in the sense of the chatbot, but in the sense of communication. So let me give you an example.
Yeah.
But let's say one of the great things of ChatGPT is it can translate, right? So let's say like maybe English isn't your native language, or maybe when you're writing it's not it can translate into a different language. So that's the first thing. The second thing it can do is, let's say if you're not the best writer, right, or you typically would have to rely on someone else to copy edit for you. You can put in the content you've written, or you can even, like how you said, you get an email from someone and say, hey, can you help me respond to this person? And I want to be able to mention these things. It can help you to do that, right? It saves you a tremendous amount of time in doing so. And it can even have it help you nuance the sort of the tone of that email. And again, it's a time savings. Now, one thing I can tell you is if you wanted to generate completely new information for you, it's not that great. So you don't use it as a thing that,
and don't do that.
Right,
it will give you,
so don't use that because
don't do that.
Yeah, but to augment what you're already doing and to help you if you have trouble writing, or if you need to be able to analyze something, it can help you with that.
I found that you need to be very, very specific, more specific than you think that you should be with this, right? And you need to train this robot, right? So if you're using it for writing, you need to input lots of your own writing and your own organization's voice and say to it something like, I'm about to feed you a large language model, right? And I would like you to use this to teach yourself how to talk and type like me, which is the second question that I'm about to ask you.
Right.
I found that you have to be very, very specific with this thing to get anything useful out of it.
Right. But just again, because I want people not to be, I want to demystify it, because I think we're all scared. Everyone's scared because we've been told to be scared. Literally, if you know how to communicate, you can communicate with ChatGPT. Like it's not about programming. It's not being a technical person. It's that being able to clearly communicate. And you have to be able to experiment with it. It has to learn how you communicate what you need and so on and so forth. But just go ahead and try it. That's a starting point. There's so many other platforms out there, but at least there's a free version of this, and if you want, you can upgrade to the paid one. I have no skin in the game, so I don't care. But I just want people to think about trying it, because it doesn't really make a very big difference. Arif, I think you want to jump in, but we're going to be getting onto the data question for you. But if you want to say something, then we jump onto data.
Yeah, I also share that caution with you, Kat, but also at the same time, this is inevitable. This is happening. We like it or not, people are going to utilize it. People are going to leverage it. So It also always depends on, what's your need and how you see it is going to be used to fulfill that need that you have. What we say is it's a great multiplier, and as an organization that we use AI all the time, we have seen both benefits and challenges using AI, right? You need to learn to you use it in a way so that it can be someone always on your corner and not kind of give you more problems.
Right.
We don't have time to explain that, but just one quick example. As an organization, we used to code about 500,000 grants a year. That was like 10, 12 years ago. But because we use AI, we are able to process 6 million grants a year. Same time frame, but a different technology that allows us to kind of capture a lot more knowledge than we would otherwise were able to. So that also then gives you a quick snapshot of how useful that it can be when you're creating all that research and transparency for the sector.
Absolutely. There's a tool that we use called Clarity. There's a question that came in about how you can specifically use it for, to kind of understand a donor's interest. Besides using one of the accessing your databases, you actually can use a tool called Clarity, or there are other ones out there, and you can have it look at the website of a donor and literally give you a summary of who they are, what they're looking for, and whether or not, and then you can then compare it to the way you describe your organization and see how you can tailor your message to fit what it is that they're looking for. So that's, I think, really, really phenomenal. Now, if you have all the time to read through lots and lots of websites, or then you can go ahead and do that, but this is the time savings, or it can even summarize videos and things like that. So again, it's getting you the information a lot quicker and then enabling you to make, to take an action and to customize your communication accordingly. But of course, FDO and all the platforms that Arif offers, or that Candid offers, are very, very important for us to tap into. And to now jump into the next question, Arif, this is specifically for you. I want to talk about the sharing of data can significantly streamline the granting process for nonprofits. Can you provide us with examples of successful data sharing initiatives and their benefits?
Yeah, thanks for that question. So there are quite a few examples, in fact, many examples and those examples kind of vary from region to region. So let's say the standard that we use here in the US is very different from the rest of the world. So let me give you a quick example of something that we do here in the US. So we have a platform called GuideStar, where nonprofits come claim their profile. So there's a profile where you can go, you can make yourself very transparent. You can add the, who is on your board, who are the staff, what do you do, what is your mission, who are some of the funders who have funded you. So that is a very quick example to make yourself transparent. So anyone who is looking for the right grantee partner, any foundation, any donor, can come and leverage that platform to see who could be the right fit for them. So that's a US example, but we have other examples. I'm going to give a quick example from Africa and one from Asia. So in Africa, in collaboration with East Africa Philanthropy Network, we have developed a platform where the indigenous foundations can make themselves transparent in terms of where they have been granted, who are the recipients. And also the recipients can contribute to that platform to show the rest of the grant making community that this is something we have done in the past. And these are some of our partners who have granted us in the past. That means it sort of becomes a marketplace, even though I'm using that term very loosely. But what it does is it kind of makes who is working in that sector, from all sides of the spectrum. These are the grant seekers, they are the implementers, and these are the funders who are interested in certain subject areas. So that conversation is then getting helped. That is taking place. So that would be an example for Africa. We are doing something similar for India, even though it's a country, is actually a continent, about 2 billion people. So this huge country, right hand doesn't always know what is the left hand doing. So we are trying to minimize that gap as well. So we have created a platform where all these, grant seekers can kind of share that data with us so that we can populate that database, and same goes for the grant makers. So there is this huge database where everyone can come use for free to see who is doing what and where, so that there is more efficiency, more transparency, and more collaboration in the sector. I don't know if that answers your question, Liz, but I thought I would give just, those 3 examples real quick.
Oh, no, that's great. I think that's wonderful. Thank you for that. And I'm going to go ahead and jump into my final question before we open it back up to the questions from the audience. And this is about, the question is, attracting partners and formulating compelling proposals are crucial for nonprofits, right? Like the proposal. So we're always thinking about that. And what strategies and tools do you recommend to optimize fundraising efforts in these areas? And I know, like Arif, I've recommended use so many of Candid's tools. Like that's the thing, right? Like can you share? And of course, Kat, you have a lot of great tools for folks trying to try and be more effective on through GivingTuesday platform.
Individual giving more.
Individual, yeah, exactly.
But it's our
right.
For institutional giving. The one piece of thing that I will ask you to do is to please don't start your proposal 2 days before it's due. I hear too much of this in the year 2023, much too much of this. My best advice is to have a standard proposal that you have always ready and that it is consistently updated rather. I put a calendar invitation on my calendar once a month to go into my standard proposal and update with the latest numbers so that I have it ready to go when I catch wind of an RFP that pertains to me, right? That's the hill that I will die on, so to speak, is to start early and keep a really clear, concise, really beautifully written proposal on deck, ready to go. But Arif's the guy to talk about institutional giving.
Awesome.
Yeah, I take a one step back and to remind everyone that proposal is typically not the first thing a donor wants, right? So it's a journey that I want everyone to be mindful of that. Do not all of a sudden send someone a proposal. That's the last thing you want to do. So that's number one. Then number two, you don't need to know someone to get a grant, but it can always help you to get your foot in the door. So by that, I mean, if you don't know somebody, that is not that's not the end of the world. You can still connect with that person, but it's more important is to identify I always say right sizing, the donor pool. There are thousands of donors out there, and you do not have the time or rather resources to reach out to all of them. So you actually want to reach out to 10 top prospects who could be most interested in you. So, and how you know that top 10 prospects, probably sometimes you know that through your relationship, through peers, but also often by using other tools that are useful out there, that are available out there. One of the tools, and I don't want to advertise what we do, but still
do it.
Foundation Directory Online. Thank you. Foundation Directory Online.
What you offer is of value. So let's go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Liz. So Foundation Directory Online can be a very useful tool in this regard. We have like millions of, hundreds of thousands of funders there. We use AI, again, coming back to technology, which is there in your corner to help you out to narrow that search. You write down what you're interested in, where you're interested in, who you are interested in, and it gives you the top, let's say 10 or 15 prospect. You want to reach out to those people, those individuals, those organizations, instead of like reaching out to and sending 1,000 random proposals to 1,000 different donors. Kat, you wanted to add something?
And when Arif says reach out to those donors, we don't mean send them your 36-page proposal. right? We're talking about a brief introductory call. I'd like to talk to you. It seems that our missions are really aligned. We'd love to personally invite you to a meeting if possible to witness the work that we're doing on ground. We'd love to have you. Or if that's not possible, I'd love to have you on a Zoom call to share more about what we're doing. It takes relationship building. There is no institutional fundraiser donor in the world who is going to fund you based on you sending them a PDF of your 36-page proposal, no matter how wonderfully it's written. It really is relationship building. So you don't have to have that to start. You can start building that relationship. Don't let that be an impediment, but it takes a while and it takes relationships.
Absolutely. Okay. And I think it's, again, really, really important. All of these are tools that are supposed to facilitate the building of these relationships to inspire folks and institutions, folks, to support the work and get involved in the work you're doing, right? I really want people to understand. It's not a transaction, it's a relationship. And if you do it right, you have long-term relationships that build and build and build, right? There's a ripple effect if we're doing this correctly. And so I really, really want
the technology.
I love that you're saying that.
I'm glad we're all saying the same thing. The technology can help you, but it is not the thing that's going to make it happen.
Right.
There's still work that needs to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Arif, you want to say something?
Yeah, coming back to the same point. Yeah, and people will probably they'll probably get tired of us saying this over and over and over again. But this is really, really, this is the thing. You build that relationship, and the prerequisite is, to facilitate that trust building. You make yourself transparent. There are tools that can help you to make yourself transparent. Be it some tool that we have created, be it your own tools. It can be all those communications that you do. Use AI to do that, but you make yourself transparent. You make yourself worthy of that trust from a donor. You find the right donor. You build that relationship. You continue that relationship, and you retain that relationship.
Okay, absolutely, 100% agree with you. Okay, so that was awesome. Those are my questions for you, and that was a really exciting conversation. Now it's time to hear from the other folks, to our audience. I know some questions are coming through, but keep writing them because we're trying to get to all of them. Kat and Arif have a lot of wisdom to share. I will add my responses as well, but we want to make sure we get everything in. We have time to hear from all of you. So let me go ahead and take a look at what has been sent to me. So someone said, someone new to Giving Tuesday is curious if it's possible to have a mentor through this journey. This person is joining from Lesotho. So maybe,
yes.
Kat,
Wonderful.
if you can share maybe Catherine or someone's information.
The first thing to do is to go to givingtuesday.org/global. It's easy to find on our website if you don't remember that. Find the country. We're Giving Tuesday Lesotho is coming, but in the meantime, find your nearest country and reach out to that country leader, and they can help you with this. We love this. We also have a Giving Tuesday nonprofit learning lab Facebook group. If you post in there, I assure you, you will get a whole bunch of people ready and willing to walk hand in hand with you on your journey in building a great Giving Tuesday campaign. The only other thing I'll say is that I'm glad that you're thinking about it now, because it takes time to build a successful Giving Tuesday campaign. It takes time. So yes, that's great. Wonderful. But yeah, we're absolutely here to help you.
Don't start the day before. Absolutely. Okay, so here's a question. So related to communication with donors, how do you describe the language of NGOs on LinkedIn? How do you recommend including asks for donations on that platform?
I don't know that it's any different than you're asking on any other platform. Arif, do you have any thoughts? I don't know that it's much different.
Yeah.
Ditto. Pretty much what do you think? But I think, Liz, you have the best answer to that.
Yeah. I think you're so LinkedIn is a professional platform, right? So you're speaking to someone who's coming to a platform related to what they do professionally, right? So it's not, you're not gonna be like fun and cute and in the way that you convey the message about your organization. It has to be professional, credible, right? All the things we've talked about before. And so whatever messaging you're going to use, you want to come across as a legitimate organization, and that you're sharing content that is relevant to the audience you're trying to communicate with. So that's really, really important. The other thing is that LinkedIn doesn't necessarily have you know how Facebook and Instagram have the donate buttons and some of the other platforms. LinkedIn doesn't necessarily have that capability. So it's a little bit more complicated to do it, but certainly you're speaking to a professional audience when you're there, which also means that you probably should have, you know, your organization should have a pretty good presence in terms of having a LinkedIn page that has, you know, you're sharing, constantly sharing information about your impact, the work you're doing, your partners, and celebrating folks, and making sure that your employees and your board members and all of your key stakeholders are connected to that page, because again, folks will be able to see who else is involved, and it helps to legitimize what you're all about. But if you're going to use it to fundraise, it's important that you don't just go in immediately and ask, you know, make an ask. You have to contextualize it by sharing information about what you're doing and going from there. That's what I would say. Okay, let's see if we've got another, let's see the other question we have. Okay. All right, so we've got a big picture question on best ways to integrate social media into fundraising strategies. Platforms or tactics that are proven successful. 2 cases with specific targets or tactics from other participants. Okay, here's something that someone says. So our organization is at a point where we've considered starting an endowment fund. I've considered setting up a fund where donors become stakeholders who then get a vote at the end of the year about where funds are directed, like children's glasses, educational materials, medical technology, etc. Have you heard of a tactic or strategy like this working to keep donors engaged? And specifically for a nonprofit book or documentary project, are there unique best platforms, tactics, or strategies? So,
okay, which one of these are we answering?
Let's do the first one first about the endowment fund.
I love that idea. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of the concept of giving circles, which exist all throughout the world, right? There would a group of individuals will come together and they'll pool their money, and then they'll decide a nonprofit or a cause to gift that money to. And sometimes it's a surprise for the nonprofit. It's really beautiful.
And we're covering those later on in the series. So the person might want to tune in then.
Really like to have that agency, right? I think that's a wonderful idea.
Absolutely. So maybe Marina might want to share a couple of links about the giving circles that are affiliated with KBFUS. So the person who asked that question might be able to sort of tap into that as a concept that can help them. Okay, so that's that. And then
Arif's got something to say.
Yeah, probably not 100% related, but I think the devil is always in the details, like how you actually do that. Because one of the things that we from Candid is trying to change in the sector, you know, old behavior dies hard, you know, it's not easy to change it. But what we are very conscious and trying to, you know, advocate a change to this behavior is this power dynamic between a grant maker and a grant seeker, right? This inbuilt huge disparity of power distribution between a grant maker and a grant seeker. So even if there is a endowment fund, and let's say best case scenario, you successfully raise a lot of endowment, but then who is making the call? Is it helping you in your mission? Or whether it's just something, you know, these grant makers, these endowment providers are kind of, you know, they're making the call, and it's sort of kind of perpetuating this disparity of this power distribution. I think that is something I would always ask someone to take a closer look at. I personally am very, very passionate about this. So, you know, you'll hear me like a broken record. I'll keep saying that over and over again.
No, it's great. We appreciate you for saying that. It's wonderful.
Okay, and then for the nonprofit book or documentary project, are there unique or best platforms or tactics or strategies? I would say crowdfunding platforms, right?
I was going to say the same thing. I'm thinking about Kickstarter, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Kickstarter, I think, would make sense. Arif, do you have any?
No. Yeah. Kickstarter. I'd say Kickstarter too.
Yeah. And I'm normally loath to make prescriptive recommendations, but this seems like a really natural mechanism of fundraising for a book or a documentary.
Absolutely, I agree.
And then folks could get a copy of the book, right? It just seems like a really easy, not easy, none of it's easy, but seems like a natural way to fundraise.
Yeah. So this person has a question saying about data reliability. How reliable is AI for the most recent data on donors? This participant tried using one platform and was told it was possible to get it wasn't possible to get data from 2021 to present. So that's ChatGPT. I think that's probably what they're talking about. It only has information to 2021, but the newest version has access. But what I do is I use ChatGPT 4, which is on Internet Explorer. Is that the Microsoft browser? And then Poe, which is another platform, and then Bard. So I try to go through between all of them to try to see, but you have to kind of experiment because they have strengths and weaknesses. Kat, if you want to jump in.
I found ways to trick it. I would tell it like, hey, you're I don't even remember how I tricked it, guys. I'll get back to you. There are ways to trick it.
Okay.
Look at Google it, I promise.
Yes.
There.
So trick ChatGPT 4 into giving you information past 2021.
But you also need to be careful with it because 9 times out of 10, it gives me incorrect information. So you need to triple check what it is that it's giving you. It's given me quotes that I allegedly said that I never said.
I agree.
So you need to be careful with it.
And that's why I actually go between the different browsers to try the different platforms to see, to validate the information. But yeah, it's tricky.
and then I go live to the internet to confirm what it's telling me also. Again, I'm cautious about the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, here's one. Are there emerging technologies or trends in the fundraising space that we should be aware of? How do you foresee technology shaping the future of sustainable fundraising strategies? Arif, do you want to jump into that?
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good
question.
So new technology, so even though there are different tools out there in different names, is the umbrella term that you use AI, right? Artificial intelligence. And if the application of that artificial intelligence can be different in different circumstances and via different tools. But like I said, it's inevitable. You like it or not, it's coming. It's gonna be there. It's gonna be everywhere. It's just happening. It's happening as we are speaking. A bunch of the platform we are currently using, Zoom, it itself uses a lot of artificial intelligence. The thing, everything blurred behind me, that is artificial intelligence. So it is happening. That is the new thing. I recommend everyone to start using it, start getting good at it, and but also at the same time with a bit of caution, like Elise and Kat said. You ask it, but still you verify the answer that it gives you. In terms of sustainable strategy for grant seeking, I think that remains the same, because the relationship building and retaining a relationship is just like our personal relationships. And like something Kat said at the beginning, organization usually do not grant another organization. It's a person grants to another person. As long as that human touch is there, the sustainable approach strategy is always going to be the same. Win trust, build a relationship, retain that relationship. I think that is how you sustain it.
We're in the business of relationships.
Nailed it. That's it, right? We can use technology to help us in those things, but technology is never going to replace those 3 steps ever.
No. In fact, yeah, absolutely. It's just to make you more efficient and effective. But if you don't have those relationship building there, it doesn't mean anything, right? You're wasting your time. So I agree with that. So here's well, it's kind of related. How can we make a successful case to focus on the technology adaptation in adoption and donor engagement. I'm thinking this is maybe, okay, so it's how to get buy-in from leadership, right? Which is always the challenge. And I want to just say something before I open up to you. When I started teaching about this and working on this back in 2009, technology and all that was a sort of a nice to have in a way, right, in our sector. Fast forward to COVID, it became a necessity. It wasn't even like a nice to have. It really has become much more strategic and more important critical to what we do. Today, if your organization doesn't have a strategy around this and leadership isn't engaged in this, you're kind of like, you've lost the whole plot. Like it's so critical. So I just want to start with that, and I'll open it to the two of you to kind of add whatever you'd like to add.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I mean, we saw this during the pandemic. The NGOs that were on board with tech, had some infrastructure in place, were the ones that went further faster. I think you said it.
Yep, agree to all of that both of you said.
Awesome. Okay, so we have excuse me, WhatsApp question. Does WhatsApp work for US donor base?
Yeah.
How can we build an effective strategy for this tool in the US context? Oh yeah, absolutely.
Gosh, yes. Oh my gosh, yes. It takes a little bit of, it might take teaching folks how to use it, depending on where you are in the world and again, your particular donor base, but you're going to ask them if they use WhatsApp and if they'd be interested in using it and learning how. But absolutely.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. Okay, and then here are a couple other things. Are there tech-savvy donors who can partner to provide apps to engage rural communities in remote training and reporting?
Like, do I know of an institutional funder that funds this?
Yeah.
I don't personally, but I think you can use things like FDO to find this out.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Arif.
But I'm not in the liberty to kind of talk about them giving you name on a public platform like this. But
can they contact you?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. You have my contact information, do that. But what I also would like to share real quick is that there are organizations, big tech names, who have employee pro bono programs where employees, their staff actually can dedicate volunteer time to help small nonprofits to build a platform, build a tool, help with that. So there is also that is also
I can say them: Google, Facebook, LinkedIn. And Google's YouTube as well.
But smaller agencies too. I'd actually suggest not reaching out to Google and saying, hey, will you build me an app? I'd actually think local. What are the smaller, I live in Chicago. There are tech companies here in Chicago. They're small. They're not the scale of Google, but they're more likely to hear me, to listen to me, to respond to my outreach, to say, hey, can I borrow one of your employees to give their skill set to help me build this app?
Sure, but they also have grants. That's the thing about the grants, and they can partner with you. That's I was thinking in that sense as well. But yeah, and I mean, like I'm thinking about like if you're in Kenya, right? I'm on my way to Kenya. You have all these like tech hubs. Go and talk to the folks there and see who can help you. Go to the schools, go to the universities. I'm actually speaking with Cornell Tech to build something for us. Like the universities are dying to give real projects for their students, especially if they're impact related. So I would absolutely take a look at that. And then what are the main ways to reach international donors? Well, so, and I guess international meaning, I think they mean US and Europe maybe is what they're referring to.
Or global.
So I am assuming it's the scenario is like this: the recipient is located outside of US and they're trying to tap into the funding pool present in US. So there are multiple ways, but also at the same time, it's not very different than what it would be for a US grant seeker. So what is different, let me talk about that real quick, is that for international grant seeker, you do not have a US EIN. What by that meaning, and you do not have registration with IRS, which is the tax body here in the US. So you do not have that. If you have that, then a grants maker, a funder automatically knows that you are in good standing with the government. That means you are somewhat, I'm using that term loosely, somewhat trustworthy. At minimum, you have a legal standing. That is missing when it comes to an international nonprofit. A quick way to remedy that is something called fiscal sponsorship.
KBFUS.
Yes.
KBFUS.
Exactly.
And Give to Asia.
Yeah, and Give to Asia, KBFUS, those are two organizations, they're good at it to give you that fiscal sponsorship. So what does it mean? It means that you are registered with a local nonprofit who is actually vouching for you. They know, I know this guy, and they are in good standing with us. And if you trust us, you can also trust them. Basically what it means in a nutshell. And then from then on, it's pretty much the same. You reach out, you make those personal relationships, you narrow it down from a large pool, you do this communication, WhatsApp groups, social media, emails, a call like this, a webinar you participate. From then on, I would say it's pretty much the same. But what is very, very important for everyone to remember is that proposal writing and all that, how that actually is systematized here in the US. You actually, there are ways for you to learn more about this, and candid learning is a huge, it's mostly free. That's the reason I'm very happy to promote it. One of our resources is candid learning. Just Google that word. In fact, there's one of the data storytelling webinar available on that, put together by Liz, a wonderful resource for anyone to take a look at. Leverage those free resources. That will give you a lot more idea that how you can actually leverage technology, all the tools out there to kind of help you succeed when you are trying to get in touch with US funders.
And why that's really important, Arif, thank you for mentioning that. Why it's so important, I learned this from Candid when I had to create the webinar on engaging international donors, is that it's a very small percentage of funds flowing from, let's say, from the US to international organizations that flow directly. I think it's like something like 80% go through an intermediary. So like having a fiscal sponsor. And so if you don't have that intermediary, or don't have a presence here, you're not going to get, you're really not likely to get the funds. So it's very important to have that. And I'm just going to go ahead and because I'm very intimately familiar with what KBFUS does. So not only would they provide that sort of vouching for you mechanism through being your fiscal sponsor, and the donor would make the donation to them and then would flow to you wherever it is that you are in the world. They also have they communicate with funders. The funders are also, so they have funders who they communicate with, who may say, look, I don't know anybody in Uganda. Who could you tell us about? What are the organizations, right? So it's a two-way relationship. So it's not only are they vouching for you if you've already identified a donor who wants to give to you, but when they speaking to their donors, there's a possibility that if you have a good relationship with them, you may end up on the list of those that are recommended to that specific donor about who they should learn more about. And so I think it's very important to make note of that, but very unlikely to get the funds to you directly if you're international and you don't have some kind of a presence here in the US. And I'm going to say most likely also in Europe as well.
Yeah. Just a quick add to that. About 86% of international grant that go outside of US from US foundations goes through intermediary organization. Only 14% of that flows directly. So that gives you the quick picture. And this 14%, like I said, devil is always in the details. These 14% are usually very big, old nonprofits who have a very good standing with existing funders. Especially, and if you narrow it down further, you will see pretty much 99% of the new recipients who are located outside US get a grant through intermediary organization, fiscal sponsorship in most of the cases.
Absolutely. I can't even believe we're at this point. Like I could keep talking and talking. There are other questions that come through. We're going to find out a way to sort of channel those. But let me see if I can quickly. I need to make sure we end it on time because I want to respect people's time. But okay, let's see if there's something. I think we kind of covered the ones that came through. So let me go ahead and make some closing remarks, and I'm going to hand it over to Marina. And folks, don't get off yet because we have resources to share with you. I want to make sure that you get the resources form, but I want to thank all of you for your active participation in today's panel discussion. The questions were great. We covered a lot of ground and gained valuable insights from our esteemed panelists, Kat and Arif. And let me just kind of briefly give some key takeaways from our conversation, right? First and foremost, we explored strategies for expanding and retaining donor bases, emphasizing the importance of leveraging technology and effective communication to engage donors and build strong relationships. Emphasis on relationships, right? This is not a transaction, it's a relationship, hopefully a long-term relationship that has ripple effects as well. We also delved into the significance of data sharing in the granting process and the benefits of it brings to both nonprofits and grantors. And furthermore, we discussed the value of formulating compelling proposals and attracting potential partners through generative AI and other tech tools. But here's the thing, we shared all this with you, right? But it's time for you to take action. You know, I encourage each and every one of you to not only implement the strategies and insights that we discussed today in your own organizations and share with other folks who can benefit. And remember, it's not just about acquiring knowledge, it's about putting into practice and making a real difference. And let us know how you use it and how it made a difference for you. And so we really want to make sure that you're able to apply this. And that's why we made this as practical as possible. I want to really express my heartfelt gratitude to our panelists, Kat and Arif, for their valuable contributions and expertise. And I believe their insights have enriched our discussion and provide us with practical strategies to advance our fundraising initiatives. Last but not least, I want to thank all of you, our participants. The resources are coming. Don't get off yet. Our participants for joining us today and actively engaging in this conversation. Your questions, thoughts, and experiences have made this webinar truly interactive and insightful. I also want to send a special thank you to Lindsay and Samantha from Faircom for their seamless management of the Zoom session, Zoom registration, all the sort of tech oriented elements of our event. And to my esteemed colleague, Ludmilla, the International Social Impact Institute's creative lead and my co-pilot, for her invaluable support and creativity. And as we conclude the session, I ask you to carefully review the resource document that will be shared with you in the chat. This form will provide you with additional materials, toolkits, and resources crowdsourced from the event partners, as well as the speakers for further support of your fundraising efforts. Also, I really kindly request that you take a few top minutes to complete the post-event survey being copied into the chat as well. Your feedback is really critical to helping us improve future webinars and tailor our content to better serve your needs. So please go ahead and fill that out. Once again, thank you for all of your time, participation, and commitment to driving positive change through effective fundraising. Let's go ahead and continue to make a difference and create lasting impact in our communities. And now I'm going to hand it over to our terrific host, Marina, to close us out and share information about our next exciting conversation, our webinar series on sustainable fundraising strategies. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. And just to echo Liz's words, thank you, everyone. It was wonderful to see so many questions and such high engagement. We continue doing these for you, but also, you know, because of you, because of this engagement. So thank you. Please be on the lookout as well for follow-up communications where we will share the recording, but also the resources that's been mentioned and the survey as well, if you don't have a chance to do it right now. But yes, as I've mentioned, this is a webinar series. So the next installment in the series will be on September 5th, 2023. Please save the date. The next panel discussion will be on maximizing Giving Tuesday, effective strategies to drive fundraising. As you might know or not, this year's Giving Tuesday is on November 28th. So this is good timing to prepare. You will learn including from Kat, but also from her colleague. But the panel will be focused on Giving Tuesday, on preparing, but also executing successful Giving Tuesdays campaigns, and really driving that, being a part of the movement as a whole. I mean, it's really a global movement of generosity, but also, using all these tips that you probably learned today, but really focused on the Giving Tuesdays campaign. So save the date, and please also be on the lookout in the follow-up communications. You will receive a registration link. Don't hesitate to reach out with any questions as well. You will see in the chat our LinkedIn pages, but also my email. And thank you again, everyone. It was wonderful to start the series with this first webinar. And I look forward to having you join us once again. And thank you to the speakers and everyone behind the screens, as Liz has mentioned. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.